Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Living to Learn. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. Before we get started, I just want to point out a couple of things. Number one, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. That helps me out a lot. It really does provide a lot of support for me and what I'm here to do. Also on TikTok and Instagram, you can find me at Live to Learn Coaching. That handle is in the description of the video. Also in the description of the video are 3 opportunities to donate financially to my channel. Again, your financial support is not absolutely necessary, but it is very helpful. And I want to say thank you to those of you who have already invested in me with your own money. That's a big deal. Shows that you really support and believe in what I'm doing here. So thanks again. Now to get started, we're going to continue in the first part of a 3-part series that I am putting together this month. And it's about being financially stressed, right? The title of the series is I am financially stressed out and I feel overwhelmed. Now, what I've been trying to do lately with the content that I've put out, with what I've been covering, is I've been trying to offer some practical support, right? Some practical advice, practical help, and things that a lot of us are either dealing with or have dealt with. Now, as a life coach, my focus is to help you get better. It's to help you overcome some hurdles, overcome some things. And of course, as a coach, I have my particular, ideal individual that I feel like I'd be able to help out the most. Now, these videos, YouTube, Instagram, social media, it's for everyone. I don't care what background you come from. I don't care how you identify in your gender or married, divorced, young, old, doesn't matter. This is for you. But as far as like getting specific, like, hey, as a coach, who would I help? Who am I here to help, right? Who's my ideal client? Most likely I'm looking at someone who's around my age, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older, career, family, and just they feel stuck, right? Now, one of the major things that keeps us stuck is our finances. One of the major things that stresses us out is our finances. And so I'm touching on that subject in this series. And it's, I'm financially stressed out. I'm overwhelmed. A lot of us can relate. Again, many of us have been there. Some of us are there at the moment. So I'm just trying to provide some practical tips on how to alleviate some of this stress. It's not going to make it all go away overnight. We didn't create this problem overnight. Now, if you remember in the intro, I talked about how the majority of our financial woes are brought on by ourselves. I know that's not the case every time. I know that's not everyone's story. I'm not trying to blame you for something that you didn't take part in or were not, originally responsible for. But again, even in that case, once it's on our lap, once it belongs to us, we are now responsible to figure out a way and how to do something about it. So let me try to help you navigate. Today, in this first part, I want to talk about 2 things that are very important when it comes to alleviating financial stress. Now, these are things that help me. These are things that have helped me. Am I perfect? No. And that's not what this is about. And those of you who have listened to me and watched me long enough, you understand that I come from a place, I try to come from a real place because I'm a real human being. I'm a person. I have my faults. I have my hang-ups. I have my struggles as well. I have my bias, right? But talking about financial stress, what are some things we can do to get out of it, right? Let's put the focus back on, let's put our energy toward where it's going to be the most useful, most helpful for us. And that is working on something that we can control. And there's definitely a couple of things that we can control here. The first thing we want to do, okay, you're feeling financially stressed. You're feeling like, money's an issue. It's overwhelming. It's weighing on you. First thing you want to do, you want to create a budget. You want to create a budget. What is a budget? It's basically this. How can I, depending on what I have coming in, right? Whatever your stream of revenue is, if it's a salary, if it's a job, if it's something else, what's coming in versus what's going out. How can I deal with this a little bit smarter, right? So let's talk about a couple of things. Let's talk about expenses, okay? Because this is what budget is. Budget is your income versus your expenses. Now, there's 2 types of expenses. There's fixed expenses and there are variable expenses. What are some examples of a fixed expense in our lives? Well, in my life, let me give you some examples. Insurance, every month. That's not going anywhere. That's got to get paid. rent every month, not going anywhere, has to get paid, right? For myself, I do my best to build up my credit. So for what I do is I pay for majority of the things that I need to purchase during the week on a credit card, and when I get paid, when my money comes in, I cover that balance. So every week there's a credit card balance due, and it needs to get paid because I'm trying to keep my credit score up. These are some examples of fixed expenses. Some of you can relate to some of these things. You have your own, right? This is just stuff that's not going to go anywhere, right? Good job, bad job, no job, those things are going to remain. Those are things we have to pay. Now, what are variable expenses? Let me give you some examples. Eating out, going to the movies, right? Going to a sports bar to watch a game and hang out, shoot some pool, maybe have a few drinks. Entertainment, basically. Things that we don't need, but they do make life a little more enjoyable, right? They make it fun. I'm not here to say, hey, don't have fun. We need to have some fun, but we need to have a budget. We need to understand what is my income versus my expenses. Now, I already know the things that I have to pay for no matter what. The best way to budget is to put those things as a priority. Okay? And I would even encourage include a percentage to put away in savings as a fixed expense. It isn't necessarily, but I think if you put it into that category, you'll take it a little more serious. Believe me, we need to save money. So let's say we take care of all those things first. We prioritize those fixed expenses, those things that we're going to have to pay no matter what. Now we pay it. We put something in the savings. Whatever we have left over, right? Now we can begin to explore our variable options. Right? Do I have enough to go hang out? Well, I might have enough to go watch a movie one night. I don't have enough to go the whole week, right? I might have enough money to go shoot some pool, hang out with friends on one evening. I can't do that the entire weekend. This is where budgeting comes in. Again, it's a difficult thing. It's not an easy conversation because there's things that we want to do. There's things that we want to have. And we'll talk ourselves into it. We'll convince ourselves. But the only way that we're going to alleviate our financial stress is if we learn how to budget our money. That is a fact. So consider that. Take care of the fixed expenses first. Take care of the stuff that has to get paid first. And guess what? If there's very little left over, maybe carry it on to the next week. Maybe carve out 2 days a month. And you're like, you know what? These are the days where I'm going to go out. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to go to a nice restaurant. I'm going to go out with friends. I'm just going to have a great time. See, if you allocate those funds, if you have a budget and you know when and how you're going to be able to spend that money, then it's no longer stressful. It becomes stressful when we try to outdo ourselves. Like, I got to pay my rent, but I got to go out here too. And it's like, no, it's choices have to be made, right? So the first thing you want to do is you want to create a budget. Fixed expenses versus the ones that we don't really need. Second thing, you want to track your spending. You want to know where your money's going. A lot of us know where our money's coming from. We don't always know where it's going. And this is a very important thing. This is a very important part of alleviating that financial stress. We've got to get organized, okay? This is going to help us. When we get organized, it helps us. Hey, where is my money? Where am I spending at? Right? Where is this going? Now, when we get organized, this is going to help us establish a realistic budget, and it's going to allow us to begin to alleviate some of that financial stress. This is what this really is. It's really us sitting down, and it's as simple as taking out a piece of paper. What am I going to get paid every week, or every 2 weeks, or every month? Whatever your pay period is. What are my fixed expenses for the month? Rent, right? Insurance, all those things have to get written out. So I have this much going here, have this much going here, right? We're tracking our spending. It's not impossible. It's not easy. It's going to take some practice. It's going to take some time. There's going to be a lot of back to the drawing board moments, especially for those of us who have never done this before or have no idea. And I talked about this in the introduction of this series, that some of us just, when it comes to money, we don't really know. We don't have a good grasp and understanding of finances, either because of our background or it's just not something that comes naturally to us, or whatever it might be. A lot of people, a lot of us are trying to live above our means. What does that mean? We're trying to live a life that our finances really can't support. And this is where the stress comes from. Versus having a honest conversation with yourself and saying, listen, this is about where I need to be, in order to have a little bit of wiggle room, in order not to feel that sting or that pressure, that stress, because I'm short on funds, or I don't have enough for this. It gets really serious when you start talking about people who have families, right? You have other people relying on you. You know, you're the main source of income. And it can get messy if we don't know how to budget our money, if we don't know how to track our money, and if we're not organized. So part 1 of this series, create a budget, right? Know what your income is versus your expenses. What are the expenses that we absolutely have to pay no matter what, non-negotiables? Everything after that is what we've set aside for the variable expenses, the entertainment, the fun stuff, the stuff that's great, the stuff we love, but not necessarily the stuff that we need to survive. Second thing, track your spending, right? We need to know where our money's going. We need to know what we're spending money on. And that's part of that is going to help us identify the things that we can kind of cut back on. I really don't need to go out to eat 3 times a week. Once is fine. I can make my own lunch. I can take my own food to work. I can go to the grocery store and spend half of what I'd spend on one night out eating for food for the week, right? Stuff like that. Just, again, budget, track your money. This stuff's going to help. It really will. You don't have to take my advice. Some of us are not going to want to run with this stuff. Some of us, this is just too much. But those are my helpful tips for part 1. Lastly, before I end, and I don't want to be too long, but I do have to point out that for those of you who have followed me on social media, you probably noticed that I did not announce a new video last week. Now, if you know me since, I believe, January, I can't remember the exact date, somewhere around January 20th, 2022 is when I started my channel. And I have put out a video every single week consistently until last week. Some stuff happened, some things came up. I was unable to record for the first time in a little over 2.5 years. I was bummed out. I was a little discouraged. But I didn't quit. I didn't give up. I readjusted. And here I am making my videos again. So just wanted to throw that out there. Don't think that I didn't. Don't think that I was doing that intentionally. But you know, things happen in life, right? Things happen that we can't control. The best thing that we can do in those situations, the best response we can have, is to look at exactly what we can control and put our energy toward that. And that's what this whole financial series is about as well. Taking what we can control, taking what we can do something about, and making the most of it. So anyway, I hope this has helped. I hope the financial tips and the strategies make sense. And I hope that some of us will be able to apply these and alleviate some of that financial stress we may be feeling. Once again, thanks for watching my video. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.